the launch, you've seen it in the newsletter, etc. You may be using it, you may not. The most important thing to say is that iMatter is the Manchester Healthy Schools PSHE curriculum, and it's our offer to you. It was launched in September 2023, and it is version 3. It's, I'll stress this enough, entirely optional, editable, and yours to use as you'd like. So you can take bits of it, you can take all of it, you should adapt it to make it best for your setting. There's a primary, secondary, and SEND version, but please retire version 2 ASAP. We are aware out there in the wild version 2 continues to exist, and we know it's hard to bring in a whole new curriculum. So you do as you need to, but we don't recommend that you continue using version 2 unless absolutely necessary right now, because version 3 is updated. If you're not using the programme, it's really still worth accessing it to have a look at some of our hidden gems that I'm going to just chat through now. The way you access it is via Padlets for primary, secondary and SEND, and to access the Padlet you request via this form. Now hopefully, yeah, you can just click on the screen and then that form will come straight up. So even if you don't want to use the whole programme in your setting, the Padlets will show you some more information. Now you might be thinking, Sophie, what is a Padlet? What a great question. I'm going to show you. So we're very big on Padlets over here at Manchester Healthy Schools. We think they're great, and they're one of the ways that we share our learning and understanding. Okay, so what I want is, can somebody tell me if you can see a Padlet?
We can indeed.
Yay! Thanks,
Yes,
Kat.
we can.
Lovely stuff. Thanks, Akeem. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's an absolute honour to be on this session with you guys.
Nice. You don't have permission to access the form. We will fix that. Thanks, Neil. I'm not sure why that's happened. Technology a nightmare. Once you've got access to the Padlets, which will happen via some kind of form that maybe one of my colleagues will put in the chat in a moment, Kat's on it, lovely. What a team. You'll get access to what looks like this. A Padlet is basically just a whiteboard with lots of sticky notes, but each sticky note is something you can click that's interactive. This is the primary one, and I just wanted to show it to you because even if you're not accessing our resources to teach, there's still stuff on there for you. And if you're a secondary lead, you might want to look at the primary one anyway, and vice versa, because there's things that you can borrow from there. So the way that you would download the actual resources is here in the lesson packs. They are obviously a massive load of information, so we've done it in curriculum themes. And then there's some other bits for you to have a look at. So these are the progression documents here. So these are an assessment tool that you can use to help kind of mark out what your students are learning in PSHE. And then if you zoom down, there's an SEND iMatter lesson pack here as well. So this is the primary Padlet. There's also Key Stage 1 and 2 active breaks here. So just some information around active breaks there. Again, if you're not in primary, you might still want to have a look at the primary one to see what's the kind of thing that's being covered. So your year 7s, you know what they may or may not have done. Obviously, very similar when we get to secondary. We've got overviews and recordings of the launch events, which many of you attended, but are there if you'd like to. You might also want to share this with other members of staff in school. You might have ECTs who need a bit of overview of PSHE. This is information for them. There's the progression documents and the active breaks again. Okay, so just for you to see that there, you don't need to be using the actual curriculum to access the resources. There's one other thing that I wanted to just talk about in terms of a PSHE hidden gem. Let me just go back to, I'm going to jump about a lot in this. It's going to test all of our skills. Go back to my PowerPoint, please. Thank you. Lovely. Just to focus in on the how-to videos. Again, this may be something you've seen, it may not, but we understand that one of the biggest gaps within the PSHE world is teacher confidence in actually delivering the content. So it's all very well having an absolutely lovely chef's kiss PowerPoint, but they need to know how to take that PowerPoint and make it into a really engaging lesson. One of the ways of doing that is obviously training, but training is hard to put into the timetable, although many colleagues on the call do a good job with that, and we're here to help you with that. In response to that, we at Healthy Schools busied ourselves away over the summer developing how to videos. These are 5 to, I'll be honest, 13 minutes. Guess who wrote the 13-minute video? This guy. My apologies. 5 to 13-minute videos for staff who just need a bit of a boost on that curriculum content area. And again, they're accessed via the Padlets, but there are also just YouTube links. You don't need to go via the Padlet, it's just stored there. Hopefully you can click the screen right now and you'll be able to see those links there. As I say, they're in the Padlets as well. I'll send them out to you afterwards as well, but I just want to, again, show you these because I think sometimes once you've seen something, it's easier to kind of understand it a little bit. So let me just share this. I didn't want to embarrass any of my colleagues. Oh, I did it wrong, Kat. I knew I would. Hang on. Try that again. Lovely stuff. I didn't want to put any of my colleagues on the spot, so this is me. This is not a power trip. This is just because I don't want to embarrass them. So you can go to the videos and you get...
Hi, I'm Sophie and I'm the PSHE lead for Manchester Health.
There you go.
This video covers...
So this is just overview best practice for PSHE, but you've got how to teach mental health, how to teach FGM. Some of them are primary, secondary specific, but again, we're all about that cross-curricular, cross-phase learning. If you're teaching secondary consent, maybe watch the primary consent to learn about the building blocks for what consent education looks like. If you're teaching primary consent, maybe go to secondary to see where we're headed, etc. There's 15 of them. So again, if you are a PSHE lead and you've got staff who are about to be teaching one of these topics, maybe set them the task to watch one of these videos. They are there to support and help them, and we think they're pretty good. So just letting you know about that. Great. Back to this, here we go. Nice. Okay. So that's just a little bit. Oh yeah, I forgot to put that in. Here you go, here's a little action for you. Kat's made you this absolutely delightful flyer, which I will email to you after the session, which you could maybe email out to your staff with the link so that they could just go and access it. To be incredibly clear, and I cannot stress this enough, these videos are not teaching tools. They are not designed to be shared with students. They are not appropriate to be shared with students. Please don't share them with students. Great. On the video, it says for teachers only. They are teacher education tools for you to use to boost their CPD. Okay. So there's that little yellow action box. Possibly you could send this out to staff with the link, and then make sure that if you do that, they know that if the video raises more questions than it answers questions, that they come to you. Okay, don't send it to them saying, there you go, that's all the information you'll ever need. We're keeping that dialogue open, but it should start them off, maybe getting them to understand what they didn't know, so they can ask those questions. If they ask you questions that you're not able to answer, then obviously escalate that to me. That's how that system works. Okay, so that's there for you. So as I said at the beginning, each section will have a little pause just to see if anyone's got any questions, anything they need support with, any best practice top tips. Maybe people are already using iMatter and they love it. This is over to you. Feel free to raise your hand or type in the chat if anyone's got any questions on what we've just covered. Don't worry if you don't.
Just while people are having a think, if you haven't yet downloaded the iMatter V3 pack, I've just put the Google form that you need to complete into the chat there for you, which will allow you access to not only all of those curriculum resources, but there's also a direct link to the how-to videos and all the curriculum overviews and things like that. But yeah, we do welcome any feedback that you have of the resources, good or bad, or how you're using them in school and what works well, is really useful for us to benefit from. Obviously, there will be a V4 within the next 2 years, as it will constantly be updating them. But in order for us to do that, it's great to have a little bit of input from you on what's going well and what you'd like more of, for example.
Thanks, Kat. That's great. Fab. Lovely. Good. Okay, so that's a little bit on iMatter. We will continue to bang on about it all year because we're really pleased with it. And there's lots there for you to unpack and learn. Kat, we are actually over to you now if you are ready to take control and have a chat about. The reason it says ... question is because I was going to ask you what your favourite thing about November is. What is your favourite thing about November?
That's lovely. I will start with my favourite thing about November and then I'll introduce myself. My favourite thing about November is I've just bought a new house and I've had a log burner put in it, which is my new toy. So when it got really cold outside and everyone was really sad about it, I was going, yay, I can use my new toy. So yes, for those of you that haven't met me yet, I am Kat. You can call me by she or her, and I'm the RSE lead. So I have a kind of a very brief briefing for you on something that might have flashed up in your inbox and you may have interacted with it or you might be coming back to it. But really, I'm just here to go, I've read all the boring bits and here is an overview for you. So this update is around specifically parents viewing RSHE materials. So you might be familiar with the Education Secretary, Gillian Keegan. She has written to head teachers, and this may have come in your inbox or it might have been sent over or you might have missed it. But essentially, the letter got sent out 24th of October, so it's hot off the press. And basically, it's just talking about something that has been quite blurry for some schools and how different schools have engaged with it and interacted with it. We've really supported schools that have been really transparent with how parents view curriculum overviews, how they talk to parents about what they're teaching, and we really suggest that best practice is that, you know, this continuous open dialogue happens all the time. But where it's been a bit blurry and schools have kind of been unsure is what they're supposed to do with actual resources, so PowerPoints, lesson plans, those kind of things. So this update speaks specifically about the resources that you choose to use. And as an overview, it says that if you choose a provider, let's say it's Jigsaw, for example, maybe it's iMatter. If you bought a package, this update says that your schools can't use that as an excuse to say that copyright laws stop you from sharing materials with parents. So that's one thing that it says. The second thing is that it suggests that maybe you share lesson materials with parents via a parent portal or an online presentation or in-school presentation, for example. And if they can't access that, then you need to share them printed copies of materials for them to be able to take home on request, with this proviso that parents promise not to share them because of copyright law. So they're the two big things, but what does that really mean, I suppose? What we can say is true, that has always been true, is that first and foremost, schools must consult with parents on their policy and provision. That is still true, nothing's changed on that, and parents still need to be given the opportunity to opt out of any sex education. They're your first and foremost things. If I just zoom us back to what was included in the original RSHE guidance that was released in 2019, it talks about when you share materials with parents, it says that what you show them is within the consultation period. So all schools that we've worked with have consulted with their parents, and within that you may have shared examples of resources. That was in the original guidance, but what this new update poses is that resources should be made available to parents perhaps outside of a consultation, so on an online portal, printed materials, those kind of things. So we're very much waiting for a little bit more clarity on that, because you might feel that those two things contradict themselves, and we also feel that. So we're looking for some more guidance and clarity on that. But hang tight, because in the meantime, kind of at the moment, you might be aware that the bigger picture is that the DfE are currently conducting a review on the released RSHE guidance, how that has gone down over the last 2 to 3 years, which, you know, we view as a very positive thing, that perhaps there's going to be some positive outcomes of this. All guidance that is released within schools is kind of expected to be reviewed after two years, so it's a great time for that happening. But when that comes out, we're kind of hoping that it speaks a little bit more specifically about the involvement of parents and the interaction with materials. In the meantime, we know that also unions have written back to the Education Secretary to kind of criticise that this has brought up something quite inflammatory and controversial. So what is happening in the meantime? There's a few things that we can do to support you. Number one, first and foremost, that isn't on here, is once that RSHE review is released, which kind of is going to happen in the next couple of weeks from the DfE, we really urge you to take part in the consultation and give your feedback on it. There will be like a 12-week window where you can make comment on whatever is released, and we'll be writing to you to kind of signpost you when that comes straight out. You can also contact your local councillors and MPs if you want to talk to them about this. You know, it does put schools in a totally new period, a new platform where we're kind of expected to be publishing our lesson resources, PowerPoints, lesson plans and things, which is a position that teachers and schools have never been asked to be in before. So if you want to talk to politicians about that, please, we really do encourage you to do so. You may also be familiar with, well, all schools will have been given an SSQA advisor, so a schools quality assurance advisor from Manchester City Council. They can support you directly if parents are coming to you with queries about materials and things and you're not sure what advice to give. You are all subscribed to a counsellor. I'm just going to pop in the chat actually. Oh, in fact, no, that's disappeared. In a sec, I'll put some contact details specifically for who your SSQA advisors might be, but they can support you directly one-to-one around parents interaction. And then as well, I will be attending this, but there's a webinar coming up kind of in response to this about involving parents in RSE engagement. So that is my update. The last thing that I just wanted to come from the world of RSE is that, as well as the RSHE review that's going to be released imminently, also the long-awaited schools guidance for trans pupils is also due to be released this year. So between now and Christmas, we're hoping that those things are going to land in our inboxes. Once we've had a little read of them and a digest, we'll get in touch with you guys and let you know how to access those and perhaps where they come to. Okie doke, that's back over. And I think we're pausing for some questions around parent consultations, which open the floor. You're very welcome to use the chat or come up on the microphone or raise your hand if you've got any questions that speak to anything that I've just spoken to. I know that quite a few of you are kind of re-engaging parents at the moment from your initial consultations that may have happened during the pandemic, pre-pandemic, or and we've been supporting a lot of schools that have been working directly with parents. So if that's you or you want some more guidance on that, please, this is an open space for us to talk. And I'll be here if you're writing in the chat, you can carry on bringing your questions to us and we can respond into those in the background. We're going to pass on to Cassie next, but I'll be milling around in the chat if you do want to get back in touch.
Just really quickly before we go to, sorry Cassie, we are coming right to you. I just wanted to say thanks, Kat, for that, and I appreciate it's really difficult to give an update on something which we don't actually have that much clarity on at the moment. So I guess that's important to kind of acknowledge. Kat and I actually had the privilege of being able to log in and watch the Westminster DfE briefing on RSHE this morning. And two things I just wanted to add that were coming through really strongly. Obviously, we know that the importance of pupil voice, and it just makes me think that the consultation coming up, that hopefully there'll be a space to include pupil voice within your response. So it might be worth being proactive to keep making sure that your pupil voice networks within PSHE are really strong, that you are asking your young people and really listening to what they want and what they value within the curriculum and within teaching, and also to just make sure that your parent networks are being rebuilt post-pandemic. I know sometimes things have like sort of paused. PTAs that used to exist have paused because it was difficult to run, and we're kind of keen for like parent consultation to not be the only, you know, we want to be building on a bedrock of parent engagement, if that makes sense, and actually starting with the stickiest stuff feels like maybe the backwards way around of doing it. So like schools where they have that really close parent connection already have a good bedrock to build on. So basically it's not going away, and the stronger your foundation, the easier it is. So that those would just be the bits that those are my top tips that I just add in, I guess. Great. I think I can take back control. There we go. Oh, you're gonna take control, Cassie. Sorry.
Thank you, Sophie. Hi everyone, my name's Cassie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Healthy Lifestyles lead at Manchester Healthy Schools. My email is on the screen, so if you need anything at all related to healthy lifestyles, you can just email me through that. And my favourite thing about autumn is definitely the pretty autumn colours. I'm going to be talking a little bit today about the training that I've got on in my area. So first of all, we have some safe active travel training, and this is in February. We delivered this training in October and we had some really positive feedback from that. So yeah, it's in February, and it's from 3:30 till 5, and it's going to be hosted online, and it's available for both for primary, secondary, and also special schools as well. And this training will look at the benefits of using active travel. So that includes walking, cycling, scooting and wheeling, so using a wheelchair, whilst also knowing how to keep safe and avoid road-related injuries. And it will provide information on safety issues for primary and secondary age children, and then also that best practice when promoting and encouraging active travel within the school community. And this training is delivered across both healthy lifestyles and the UIP health areas, so that we can promote active travel as safely as possible. Alongside the safe active travel training, we've also got a competition running, and this is a competition for Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3 students, and the aim of the competition is to be able to active travel to school, to or from school, at least 14 times in a month. So all that needs to be done is students fill in each circle every time they travel to or from school, and then applications should be sent off to our office. If you need our email address, our address, I'll pop it in the chat, and then they need to be with us by Wednesday the 13th of December. Pupils can win a bike and other safety equipment as well, and the bike is just there. It's a really nice bike, so I would recommend that you encourage your students to get involved. And alongside active travel, we also want to promote road safety, and Road Safety Week is coming up really soon, from the 19th to the 25th of November, and this year's theme is Let's Talk About Speed. Our UIP lead has created a lovely Padlet for Road Safety Week, and if you want to get onto that Padlet, you should just be able to click on it and it should be hyperlinked. So that has assemblies, lessons, I'm trying to other campaign information. It's a really brilliant Padlet if you want to do something to celebrate Road Safety Week. I also have some training coming up on creating a culture of healthy eating, and this is on the 30th of November at 3:30, and this session will look at how healthy eating practices around snack and lunch times can be incorporated into the school day, and I'll focus on lunch boxes, school dinners, snack times, the overall dining hall experience, and also what staff can do to encourage healthy eating during these times. I'll signpost you to a range of different resources, and hopefully we'll gain the knowledge as well to be able to develop and implement really effective food and drink policies. And if you want to sign up to that training, you can just click on the hyperlink there, which is great. And then if you are looking to book onto any of our training, you can go to the Healthy Schools website, and there is a really clear overview of all the different training that we have. And then we also have the Healthy Schools Bulletin, and this comes out every 2 weeks or so. And it always has our new training in, it has any new resources, and it also has campaigns that we want you to be aware of as well. And the next one's due on November the 14th. So as Sophie said, that's one of the actions. If you want to, you can consider scheduling in time to read and action anything that's useful. I think we've just got a pause now for any questions that you might have related to training tips.
I've just got a quick question, just in regards to let's say consultation with parents and carers. So since I've joined, obviously we've definitely not done one, and when I've had a look, it's been quite a while since we have, so it's definitely on the cards to be done ASAP. But for schools that, for example, obviously I know Kat knows our school very well, so she'll understand what I mean. But for schools that have such sometimes difficult parents and carers, is this support that we could possibly get from Manchester Healthy Schools with hosting and let's say delivering a parent consultation?
Yeah, absolutely, Akeem. That's something that we're really keen to support schools with. And it's, I suppose, what we're trying to do is move away from an old model of just having one formal parent consultation where, you know, if they miss it, then that's it, in place of a kind of regular engagement opportunities all throughout the year on lots of different platforms. So if you wanted us to develop a plan with you, we can come and help plan your engagement strategies and how you get information out there. We've also got, if people haven't seen, we have a parent engagement pack, which has loads of engagement activities, different ideas. It's got information, leaflets and videos translated into multiple languages as well. So, you know, we've got support available for you there. If you're looking for that straight away, you can log into the Healthy Schools website and download the parent engagement toolkit. So that's your first port of call. And if you do want to get in touch, anyone for one-to-one support meetings, for those of you that are revisiting your parent consultations, then please absolutely do. Thank you, Akeem. I think we've got someone with their hand up as well, which, no, I'm putting my hand up. Is that Emma? Would you like to?
Hi, yeah, just similar, well, not a similar question, but related to the same thing with the parent consultation. We're a hospital school, so our parents change depending on which children we have in and out, basically. So we have done the consultation process, but the parents that we did it with their children aren't necessarily at the school anymore. So I just wondered if we could have a bit of advice on how best to kind of we are updating our policy at the moment. We're looking at things, so there will be another consultation, and at the moment we're sort of regularly putting what's coming up in RSE on the school newsletter, so it's regularly fed back to parents. But there's a difficulty around consulting parents when our parent turnover is high, if you see what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. And Emma, you've really raised a point that is kind of significant for all of us, because whether your entire cohort is like that, or you have members of the community that are in and out of education for various different reasons, pupils that are out of education for a variety of different reasons, you know, that standalone consultation method doesn't work, does it? So I think definitely the idea of you planning for lots of different opportunities and things like you say, like newsletters with what's coming up is a great way. If you are modifying your policy in any way, sending out survey links to parents throughout the year of, you know, what do you think of this? Could we get your feedback on that? This next month's topic is this. Perhaps we could get some parent feedback on that. Here's a quick quiz, you know, here's some examples of the pupils' work that's been going on. If you put in stands up at parents' evenings for opportunities to be able to input and ask questions and engage with there, you know, there's a plethora of opportunities whenever parents are in the building, whether they've only just entered for the first time or perhaps it's ongoing throughout the year. Think about what your current existing parent engagement channels are, the ones that are really successful, and try and maximize those, I suppose. But I think regular drip feeds of how you can get that information out, whether it's coffee mornings, whether it's having small panels of discussion, you know, there's so many different ways that you could do it. And what I would suggest, Emma, is perhaps if you map your parent engagement sessions alongside your school calendar of, well, when are parents in the building, or when have we got their attention? You know, there's a lot of different ways, formally and informally, and a mixture of those things that you can plan around, I suppose. But if you do want support with that directly, please do drop us an email and we'll be able to kind of come and talk to you and think what works best for you. But I hope that answers your question a little bit, but I do appreciate that it's quite a vast area, but it's great to hear that so many people have this as a priority this year.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Emma.
I just wanted to add to that, Kat, as it's completely spot on and brilliant. Emma, I just wanted to flag that I think one of the kind of issues with the RSHE guidance is often that SEND young people or young people in alternative provisions are a bit of an afterthought rather than central to what's being considered. And so when that consultation comes out, it would be really great to have it loud and clear from you that the parent consultation model is not reflective of transient young people who move between education provisions, such as hospital schools. I'm thinking also of PRUs that may have like young people there for less time. And it's, to me, and this is just my opinion, it seems like an example of how it's not quite focusing on young people who are fitting outside of a mainstream model, for example, which, as you quite rightly say, isn't fair on you or them. So I think it's just worth saying that. On a more positive note, one of the things we're going to be doing later on is collaboratively building a Padlet on PSHE assessment. That is quite a nice way of having like an ongoing feedback loop, and I wonder if it might be something that you could consider having maybe a more iterative online consultation process with incoming parents, so that you know, you're not having to have like an information meeting every time, but maybe there's a video they watch and then they feed back on that as part of an ongoing process, if that makes sense. So I think it's just some of those creative ideas possible.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like the idea of the video that they can comment on. Thank you.
No problem. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks, and I'll just answer Kat's question around parents not engaging with consultations that you've done. And I think what I would advise for that, if nobody's turned up to one particular format, so you know, a face-to-face in-person session, then we have to go back to the drawing board and think, okay, they're not wanting that. Perhaps is it a pre-recorded version of that, a video that you could send out? Perhaps it's more kind of smaller groups that happen. What else works well? I would say, you know, the phrase, does that still count? Well, yes, but it didn't teach you anything. That's not, for a consultation to work, it has to be a two-way dialogue. So you giving them information, then being able to ask and give their input. So, you know, even things like sending out surveys, perhaps that might get you a little bit more feedback. And a survey could be in response to, you know, sending out a newsletter, sending out a recorded information video, or some of the information videos that we've created at Healthy Schools as well. You could send out, you're welcome to use those and have them on your website, and there's links to those in our parent engagement toolkit. Stella, just in response to you, the toolkit for the Padlet, I'll email to you because I know that you're engaged, but I know that there's some people on the call that have yet to do their health check, so we can't quite share those passwords with everyone, but I have seen your email and I will get back to you.
That was almost like you set me up there, Kat, which is great. On to the next little bit, so that's lovely. So we are zooming towards a break, by the way. This bit, for some of you, you're going to be like, Sophie, we know this. And for some of you, it will be information that you need. I'm also just conscious that we have some folks who are not currently on the call who might be recording this. So I'm just trying to hit everyone's needs in this next section. Because oh, hang on. Take control, Sophie. There we go. So this little bit is just to give you a bit of an update of where we are in the Healthy Schools cycle. I joined the team in June, and so this was fresh to me in kind of understanding how Healthy Schools works. Now I understand it. It's a slick, super competent machine, but from the outside looking in, it was difficult to kind of get my head around it. So what I've done is just put together a couple of slides that will give you a bit of an overview of how we operate on a year-by-year basis. There's two things I want you to think about here. One, where is your school at within the cycle? You may be completely at the end of the early stages and just getting the support you need. Fantastic. And two, are you able to explain this to your staff? Because there is training and things they can access available to them, but they sort of need to know how the process works to get that access, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go through this. As I say, if you're sat there like, please, I could train you on this, then, you know, make the most of the 5 minutes. So just a reminder of how we operate. The health check is open. The health check is just to briefly pause to say welcome to Hayley, who's one of our external contributors who's going to be talking in a minute. Hi, Hayley. Thanks for coming onto the call. So where we're at in terms of the Healthy School cycle. So the health check is open. The health check is a self-assessment tool for schools to complete to highlight how healthy schools can support you. Okay, that's the purpose of it. You do it through our very jazzy, very impressive website that's brand shiny new. We're very proud of it. And it's just there so that we're not assessing you or judging you. We're just trying to work out where the support could be best placed. So you do that self-assessment tool. Once you've done that health check, action plan meetings happen. Okay, so once you've completed the health check, you'll have an action plan meeting with your Healthy Schools liaison officer. That's a term I've kind of made up, but I feel like it's useful to have these two separate roles in your head of how Healthy Schools works, because you will be interacting with different members of the team. Let's just start with the Healthy Schools liaison officer. That is the person who is assigned to you almost in a kind of pastoral way, if that makes sense. So they are your point of contact when it comes to healthy schools generally. We each have a caseload of schools that we are there to support in those early stages and also throughout the year. Some of you are my schools, hello. Some of you will be Cassie and Kat schools, some of you working with our other colleagues, but you'll have a person. That person, if you don't know who they are, it's on your profile within your side of the website. If you can't access the website, then just email us, we'll give you the code. You can't reset that yourself, so don't stress if you can't find it. Just contact us, it's okay. We're not, again, judging you for not knowing the password. I don't know my own password to access it, so don't worry. So you have that action planning meeting. The action planning meeting then helps you set goals for the year, 2 to 3 goals. We don't want to go wild, we just want you to have something you can achieve. Once you've set those goals, what happens is you then are being streamlined towards a subject lead specialist. Okay, so one of those subject lead specialists might be, for example, RSE, which would then mean that you get directed towards Kat, who's the RSE lead. Okay, that may get confusing because you might have a Healthy Schools liaison officer who is Kat, who is signposting you to Kat, but they're just 2 different roles, pastoral and then subject specialism, basically. And then you get that ongoing support, okay? And that support could be training, it could be attending a network meeting. Well done, congratulations, you're doing that right now. It could be watching a network meeting later on. Well done, congratulations, you might be doing that right now. It could be curriculum support, it could be resources, whatever it is, we're here to help with that. Fab, great. So basically, we are at the point now where a lot of people have done the health check, but not everyone, but a lot of people have done the health check, and they are now accessing that action planning meeting. Once you've done the health check, you get access to all of our resources. So like Kat just said, some people haven't done the health check, which means they won't be able to access those resources. We need you to do that to sort of take part in the programme. It's one of the ways that we kind of make sure that we're actually managing to support everyone. Just to briefly pause and say hi to Chris from the Social Mobility Foundation, who's just joined us. Chris is one of our external speakers who'll be talking in a bit. Thanks for coming, Chris. Great. So once you've got that, you get access to the other kind of support that we've talked about. If you're in doubt in any way, contact your Healthy Schools liaison officer. As I said, that's on the website. If you can't access the website, contact us and we'll let you in. And there's an action there, which is just to say, why not check you signed up for the upcoming PSHE and Mental Health League network meetings? Cheeky plug. The next one is in March, just so you know. A couple of things. A lot of you already know how that cycle works, but you might be in a trust with another Manchester school who isn't engaging with the programme and doesn't know how it works. Do invite them to come along and make sure that they know that that support is there for them. It's free and it's theirs to use. Equally, we know that PSHE leads and Healthy Schools coordinators change fairly frequently. If you might not be in post next year, then please do include an overview of that cycle of how we operate in your handover, just so that that next person understands what a health check is and what an action plan is, so they know what the next steps are, basically. So I'll just pause there. I appreciate for some of you, that's old news. If it isn't, that's absolutely fine, because I understand there's a few steps there, but hopefully that's helpful. If you haven't completed the health check or the action plan, please do that so that we can get you through to that next stage and get you supported. And remember, there's no such thing as a silly question. We are PSHE specialists at our course. So if you've got questions, please do ask them. We're here to help you and support you at the end of the day. Great stuff. Lovely, good, there we go, on time. So we're gonna have a quick 5-minute break now while we start for the next speakers. What we're going to do through the magic of technology is split you into breakout rooms, because Hayley, who is from the Just Finance Foundation, is talking about a primary curriculum in finance education, and Chris is talking about some 16+ opportunities that you could flag to your sixth formers or your leavers. So we want you to make sure you get targeted information. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms to do that. So you'll see me assigning you to breakout rooms. For now, feel free to have a 5-minute break. There's a beverage suggestion on the screen. Do what you will with that. We're going to come back together at like 3 minutes to 2 and get you into those breakout rooms so that our presenters can get talking at 2. Feel free to mute us. Healthy Schools team and externals will stay on the call and sort out some admin. See you all in a little moment. Good. Hi folks, thanks so much for joining the call. I am assuming that folks can still, some of us will still be able to hear us. Hopefully they'll mute us because we're just going to set you up for the next bit, but who knows. How are we both? Hayley, how are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, very well. Busy week, Talk Money week this week, so we've kind of been inundated with schools requests. We took over, or we've taken over for the whole week, Teacher Talk Radio. So we're doing sessions in the evening. I did my slot on Saturday with, I'm sure you're familiar with GamCare, the Gambling Harm Awareness providers. So we're working in partnership with them, and we're planning to co-create a resource for the younger children early 2024. Yeah, it's just been a really busy, positive week.
Amazing. That sounds really great. And I'm jealous of you taking over Teacher Talk. Power, if anything.
Yeah, thank you.
That sounds great. Chris, how's your week been? How are you?
Yes, absolutely fine. Just doing a lot of these, but it's good to chat to people that have their camera on, because a lot of the time it's just talking at a screen because of safeguarding schools and that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey,
good.
yeah. Some of them will have their camera on. Some of them won't. So just have to be nice and charismatic, regardless.
Yeah.
I am just right. So what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to separate people out into breakout rooms. I feel I'm concerned about the tech here, but I feel like it's doable.
I can see your primary and secondary breakout rooms are already set up there, and for me, I can hover over it and join the room when you've opened it.
Oh, great. Well, they'll just do that then. Kat and Cassie, I've just sent you Hayley and Chris's slides.
Right.
I do have the option to share.
Oh, are you able to?
I think so. Do you want me to try it now?
Should we just go into the breakout rooms and see? Let me open the breakout rooms. Because I thought you would have the option to share, but I
have the option to share as well, so it might be easy if we just share our own slides.
Yeah, this looks good. I think we just sent the slides just as a backup, just in case you couldn't, but that's great you're here now and you can. So we'll give that a go in the breakout rooms.
I don't have a button to open the rooms. That's my only option concern currently. I wonder if I have to assign some people in order to. Can you join? You can't join without at the moment, mate. No.
They're not open yet.
You could share your screen so we can try and help you.
You're a genius. I feel like there's no.
Yeah, I think you have to assign. If
I just assign them.
Yeah.
It's fine. I think I know most of them. Let's just do secondary first. Chris. Oh, great. Now I've assigned a couple and they're just opening, so that's fine. Let me just assign you to primary, Hayley, and then.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. We absolutely love Milo, by the way. He's become the mascot of the entire.
Ah, wonderful.
I'm always banging on to Milo about my money worries.
Everybody loves a Milo, including my dog. I have to keep rescuing him.
Folks that haven't been assigned, so I think that's just you, Cassie and Kat. Would you be able to hover over a room to? They're open now, so do you think you can join them? Stop sharing my screen.
I'm not sure how to join.
Yeah,
that's the only
okay.
thing.
I'll join the secondary one.
You're not sure how to join. I think if you go up to, let me assign you.
Okay, thanks.
It's weird. Where are you? You're not in my list.
That worked perfectly.
Great.
Yeah.
That work?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Lovely. I'm glad that all seemed to work fine. Hopefully people will come back in a moment and you guys can get cracking.
Nice.
Tempting to
I'm
assign.
not sure if something's not worked, but I've not been sent to a room.
No, we've not sent you to any rooms yet, Neil.
All right, okay.
Neil, are you able to just see the rooms? They're open, so you should be able to just click on
rooms.
Where I can't, I mean, it's more obviously me than whereabouts is the option.
So can you see at the top, you've got all your options for chat and raise your hand and things. There should be a button that says rooms.
No, I've not got that one.
That's fine.
I've just realised I've got my camera on, but I've got my slider up, which is absolutely
Nice
useless.
to see you.
Are you primary or secondary, Neil?
A bit of both, to be honest,
Okay.
for an SMH score, so whatever.
That's absolutely fine. So you're welcome to go. You're basically, I think you might want to go to the Just Finance Foundation. No offense, Chris. But you're welcome to go to either. The secondary one is about post-16 options.
I don't have that option though.
Yeah.
Join
No, I'm gonna assign you.
All right, okay, sorry.
That's okay. Does that tell you you've been assigned? Okay, cool. I'm just going to go through and assign some people as people come back.
They can probably shimmy themselves to a different room if they don't like where they've been assigned to.
That's true. Hi, folks. Just as you're coming back, you should have the option to click on the breakout rooms and select the one that's relevant to you. If you can't do that, then just let me know and I'll assign you to the room that's relevant to you.
Hi, I haven't got the option to choose a room either.
No worries. Just, I can't see you at the moment. So what is the name and the...
It's Katie Wormsley, so I'm a primary specialist.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Katie. I have just assigned you.
We've got Lucy as well.
Hiya, Emma Cooner. I haven't got.
I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah, no, so we've just got Lucy and Rick left to assign, and then we should be good. I'm going to scooch into the secondary one now.
Lucy, I feel like I have assigned you. Right.
Yes, I think Rick hasn't been assigned yet.
He has been now. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Am I right to go, Sophie? Or do you want me to go into...
No. You can go. That's
Okay.
absolutely fine. Thank you so
Okay.
much. That was really helpful.
I really would have... I might come back, you know, when you're making the assessment of PSHE thing.
Yeah. It's at 2:30.
I thought that was a really... 2:30. Okay, yeah. I might come back because I think I just like the idea. Sounds really cool.
We'll see how it goes. It's a bit techie, but I think it will be interesting to get them to play on Padlet a bit.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So it's
Yeah.
like muzzy.
But yeah, thank you for that. It was really great, and I'll see you.
Tomorrow in the office?
No, but I'll see you at some point.
Okay. See you soon. Bye.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Am I early? Hopefully I'm a little bit
No.
early.
You're perfect. Everyone's in breakout rooms at the moment because we've got a primary program and a secondary program being promoted. So I just wanted to split them.
Cool. Perfect. That worked out quite nicely.
So they'll be back at like 10 past.
Lovely. Lovely. So it's going to be a bit of a flying visit. So I've got another thing at 4, and like I just need to have a few minutes off screen.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. Whatever you need. So these guys will be till 10 past. So we can do it 2 ways round. I've got a little bit of spiel about Disability History Month. So what we can do, if you want, either I can do that, so you can just see the tone of the vibe and what I'm going to say about Disability History Month and that kind of thing, and then you can do your bit, or you could do yours first, and then I can be like, also Disability History Month is this. My main message with it is to just look at the resources, and I'm not suggesting, they're very keen actually to like move from disability awareness to disability equity, so they don't even necessarily need to really think about, oh, how do we promote Disability History Month, but more just for the teacher's own CPD, how to look at some of their resources. There's a really nice thing that's like, well, it's not nice, it's kind of horrible actually, but like on the history of residential schools, that's not, I don't think, really child appropriate, maybe for sixth form, but actually really important for teachers to know. And there's a bunch of resources on there that I think just useful for them. And then also to think about when they do history months, generally, how do they make sure they're intersectional? So if you're doing Black History Month or LGBT History Month, how are you including disability within that? So that's it, really.
Cool. If we start with yours, and then I'll follow you, and then I get the tone and the vibe and all of that jazz.
That's great. That's my preference. I just wanted to give you the time option.
Your hair looks very red today.
It's just got a lot of ginger in it, to be
It
honest.
looks very autumnal.
Yeah, it's just sometimes in certain lights you can tell there's Irish in me. But yeah, and we're aiming kind of, so the session finishes at 3, but the aim is at like 2:30 that we're going to move into like an interactive feedback kind of thing. So we're sort of aiming to like be moving into the next section at kind of 2:30ish. But don't stress like 2:30, 2:35, whatever. These guys will come back at 10 past ish. So my thoughts there was I'll do 5 minutes on Disability History Month, and then 10, 15 minutes, whatever you have time to do.
Yeah, I'll hang around for a little bit. I am after 2:30 just to chat and take any questions, and I need to go by about 22 or something like that.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. So then we'll just, because I just want to get them to make a Padlet and like do a bit of interactive stuff, so that it's not just talking at them, but you know.
Exciting.
Yeah, it should be good, I think.
I just suddenly thought that like my next meeting was at 4, and I was like, that doesn't add up, but it is at 3 till 4.
Is that 3?
Yeah.
I see. When you said that, I was like, I mean, I love the boundaries of you being like, I need to be on the screen. I was like,
I
yeah, for a
thought it
full
was,
hour.
and then but then I was like, is it? But basically, I've ended up with like 3 identical like meeting titles, because I've split a group into 3 like different parts. But it means that, like, you know, if you like remember things photographically, I've remembered it at like 4, but that's because that was its different group. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, totally. Nice. I'm just going to jump into the breakout rooms to make sure people are okay.
go for it. I'm going to
So
go refill my water.
Do you want to put yourself on mute? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Helen. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Helen. Thanks for
Hello.
coming back through now, just so you know. I'm going to just pop into the primary room to make sure that I'm going to close the secondary room.
How are you, Kat? Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Very good, thank you. Yes, I'm very pleased. We've got a good mix of primary and secondary in today, which is really nice to see. And this is my favourite part of the year as well, because everyone's all fresh.
Lovely.
Things are closing, people are moving. I think people couldn't come back until I'd closed it, so everyone was just sat in the room.
Because they can't just jump from room to room, okay.
I think, yeah, we're moving people back into the room. Remove rooms. Well, if we remove them, what happens?
Forcibly exit them.
Can I check who was it that said if we leave, we'll come back into the main room?
What happened?
Oh, was that false information? Might have been me.
I knew that I should not mess around with breakout rooms, but also you've got to keep pushing yourself technologically, otherwise you stagnate, Akeem. So you know, that's what's happened there. It's all part of the development. I think we've regained everybody. Here we go. Hopefully everyone's back in this room. Thank you for watching Sophie Pretends to Know How to Use Technology, one of our very favourite shows. No problem, Chris. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. I will share everyone's contact information at the end. And yeah, thank you, Hayley and Chris, both for your presentations. We really appreciate it. I hope it's useful for people to have it separated out. And I know that's not always easier if you cross a phase area. There's going to be space for feedback at the end, so feel free to let me know. This was just a trial because previous sessions have had primary and secondary content back to back, and I got a little bit of feedback from colleagues saying that some of it wasn't always relevant to them. So, but then others are saying they like to know what's going on across the sector. So, you know, different things for different people. There'll be feedback at the end. You're welcome to let me know. Thanks so much, Hayley, sorry, for coming. Great. Yeah, that's what I meant to say, that bit. Lovely. Okay, so the observant amongst you will have noticed that we have our third speaker with us. We have Dr. Helen Dring-Turner, who is the neurodiversity lead for Brooke. Helen will be speaking in a moment. So she'll explain to you what that title entails and a little bit about that. But I just wanted to move into our theme. So each time I host a network meeting, I like to give like a little bit of content theme. Not too much, because I'm not trying to give you more campaigns and jobs for you to do. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but I just wanted to bring Disability History Month to your attention. So I'm just going to do a quick 5 minutes on that. The reason that I'm highlighting this, obviously, partly it's important, but also I think that this year in particular, the resources that they've developed are really relevant to all of our work, because the theme of Disability History Month this year is disability, childhood and youth, and obviously we are in the childhood and youth game, so I wanted to sort of flag it. I also think their resources are, unsurprisingly, really accessible and really useful for staff CPD. There is like student facing resources there as well, but I think the benefit really comes for staff sort of CPD. So let me just chat through this briefly. First and foremost, what a cool poster. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. The poster in and of itself might make a really nice resource to put in front of maybe your older students to see what they find this all to mean. There's a bit of critical media literacy going on here to unpick this. So just a bit of information, Disability History Month in the UK. You might be sat there thinking, I've never heard of it. Fair enough. It's been around for a little bit now. It's in its 7th year, so it's not as established as maybe other history months. But you know, 7 is not nothing. It's from November the 16th to December the 16th. So I always like a history month that doesn't fit within just 1 month, because it, apart from anything else, means that you don't have to get all of your planning done by the end of a month. And the reason I'm mentioning it to you is it's as much about CPD, as I said, as it is about school campaigns or youth-facing resources. As I say again, this year's theme is disability, childhood and youth, and there's a couple of resources on the website that I thought were really interesting and worth your time and to have a look at. These are hyperlinked into the screen. I can't get over how good hyperlinks on PowerPoints are. I just think they're clever. So you should be able to click onto those right now. There's 2 on there. The first that is really interesting is just generally on the disability, children and youth for 2023. There's a bunch of different resources about the history of inclusive education. I will just say that some of the history of inclusive education or education for people with disabilities is tough going. Like, it's not necessarily the rosiest of histories. So just take that with a pinch of salt. And as I say, I'm not necessarily suggesting this is something to share with young people, but I think as educators, understanding the history that we sit within when it comes to education can be as useful CPD as going on some training. So I certainly I took some time and went through these resources, watched the BBC documentary, and I found it really useful, and there is things to reflect on our practice here today. The How Was School project in particular, which is just here, looks at disabled people's experiences of education over the last 100 years in the UK. So again, really useful and interesting, because often, as we see with other history months, they can often come through the American lens, which obviously is interesting, but not necessarily specifically relevant to our settings. So just something to kind of flag there, that's there for you to have a think about. The resources will all be sent out, obviously, but again, you can click on the screen and you can see that. There's another link here. I'm like impressing myself with these links, honestly. This is for education staff specifically. So obviously they've been going for 7 years. Each year is a different theme, relevant to upcoming conversation. The theme in 2020 was sex and relationships. So again, if you're thinking about your RSE curriculum, you might want to have a look at that, the history of that. The resources for staff, there's a whole bunch of different things you can download here in terms of disability within the curriculum, how to discuss disability with children. One of the things I really like is they talk about embedding disability equality rather than disability awareness, which my understanding would be that it's not just making sure people are aware that people have disabilities, but thinking about particularly the social model of disability and how people are actually unable to access certain things in society, preventing them from having true equality because of their disability. So the difference is there, quite crucial. They talk about that quite a lot. And the quote here is, wherever possible, we should embed disability equality rather than take a bolt-on approach to be part of planning and preparation of the delivery of the curriculum on an ongoing basis. So just an action point. I'm not in any way suggesting, hi, it's the 8th of November, make sure you're set up for Disability History Month on November the 16th on a full campaign. Obviously, that would be wild. What I'm suggesting is that you take a bit of time to look through the resources, maybe sign up to the newsletter so that you're aware of the upcoming information, and think about if you do run if you run other history months within your school, whether it's Black History Month, LGBT History Month, Women's History Month, South Asian History Month, are you taking an intersectional approach, and are people, disabled people, represented and considered within those histories? Because obviously there's an overlap and there's interesting intersections there. So just something to think about. The resources are there. I think it's something that it's always important to keep at the front of our minds. And I was really impressed with the offer that they have. So I thought it would just be something to highlight to you. I like to do the reading so you don't have to. I read a lot of stuff that wasn't very good that I didn't bring to you. So try and bring you the best. So that's just there for you to have a think about. We do have an SEND offer at Healthy Schools. Again, that is another Padlet. We love a Padlet. They're just useful ways of getting information across. We do have a meta Padlet, by the way, which kind of is like all of them combined. So again, we can send you the link to that. We have an SEND specialist, Emma Pilling. So if you'd like a bit of support around anything to do with SEND, then do get in touch with Emma. Her contact details are there. But equally, if you think you're doing an area of PSHE with your young people with SEND really, really well, let Emma know. We're all about sharing good practice at Healthy Schools. We don't just want information to be told to you. It's a cyclical thing where we want to get that information back to learn. So if you think you've got something that you want to brag about, or you know of a practitioner in your school that's doing a good job, let us know. There's always things to learn. Lovely. Brilliant. Just going to pause there briefly. Anyone, anything that they just need to mention, say? Is anyone already celebrating Disability History Month? Very thrilled. Maybe you are. Don't worry.
Yeah, our SEND team are delivering assemblies to each year group next week
Nice.
with activities taking place at social times. But and those are the activities are being delivered by our SEND students as well.
That's so good. That's amazing. So thanks, Akeem. So I'm gonna, if it's okay with you, I'll let Emma know, because it would just be, we always trying to gather best practice that's happening.
Yeah.
And is that something that's been in school for a while, or is that kind of newish?
This is the first year that that they've decided to allow the students to take the ownership in delivering their activities, which has been great. The students are the ones that have put together the assembly resources as well, and have like starred in the videos about their feelings and about how they feel, and about you know, how they can be supported. So it was all, you know, the students just took the lead and the staff just coordinated it.
You're gonna make Helen cry. That sounds absolutely brilliant. So yeah, we absolutely would love to hear more about that. And yeah, we sort of talking to schools. It's starting to happen. People are bringing this in, but it's not across the board. So it's just useful to share that good practice. And thanks for that, Akeem. That's great. Okay, Helen, we're going to pass over to you. I believe that you can take control of the screen.
Oh,
I know. I think you can. If not, I'll click for you. Can you?
Let's see. It's just been very slow, but with me.
Right. That, just to say, that ... isn't ominous. It's because at the very beginning, I invite people to share their favourite thing about November. So if you'd like to let us know what that is.
Oh, okay.
Got to put you on the spot. You can say that at the end.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a bit of not an autumn fan, so
that's okay.
Apologies. I am
nothing.
trying to make peace. I'm trying to make peace with autumn, and I'm trying to enjoy it, but I don't really like it. So I don't really have a favourite thing about November, other than maybe it being March. When for me, November is like 6 months long. So sorry, bit of a November hater. Apologies. Can you all see my screen? Is that showing now for people? Fab. Thank you for inviting me. It's really nice to see you all. I'm from Brook, but I'm also based in Manchester. I've got a nationwide role at Brook, but I'm based physically in Manchester. So I'll pop my contact details up in a bit. I'm always happy to chat to people around kind of neurodivergence. I will say more about that as we carry on. So I'm going to chat to you a little bit about neurodivergence, neurodiversity, and SEND from the point of view of Brook and what we're doing and what I'm doing. I'm going to give you a really quick view of who Brook are. So we're a charity that supports people with their sexual health and well-being. We're primarily a young people's charity. Young people are our general focus. We do have some work across the country that we do with adults as well, but young people is generally what we do. And though that's my email on the board, but I'll pop it in the chat in a bit as well. So I'm the designated neurodivergence lead. My role looks at expanding our provision, access, representation of neurodivergent people across everything Brook does, primarily education, clinics, and our internal services that we offer to our own staff as well. So it's quite a diverse role. It involves quite a lot of things. It's a relatively new role, so it started last December. It's coming up to 12 months now that I've been driving this work. And I just want to touch a little bit about some of the positions that we as an organisation have taken on neurodivergence and some of the approaches, and share some cool things that we have found out from young people about neurodivergence recently as well. So the definition that Brook use for neurodivergence is a community term. It's really important to us that when we are expanding our work into something like neurodivergence, that we're talking to those people with lived experience and that we're meeting them where we are, rather than us deciding what the definitions of those things are. So we use this definition of neurodivergence, which was coined by Kassiani Asasumatsu, and it just defines neurodivergence as anything that can be considered neurologically different to the typical. There's some things on the slide that could include, but it can include a lot more. Can include mental health conditions. It is quite an open label. People can choose to identify into it or not. Someone might be neurodivergent and consider themselves disabled. Someone might not identify with the label disabled, and we're very open that people's experience of neurodivergence is really different, so we don't want to kind of pigeonhole anyone into a box. We're also very aware that someone might come to any of our services with a diagnosis of neurodivergence, or they might not. Diagnosis is quite difficult to access. For various reasons, people might not want to access it either. They might feel that they know their own experience and their own minds and not want to have a formal diagnosis. So we work on it as an identity-based term. And then neurodiversity we also include. So we talk quite a lot about neurodivergence / neurodiversity, recognising that neurodiversity is obviously a plural term. Neurodiversity is a bit similar to biodiversity in that everyone's brains are different and function differently, but that includes typical and non-typical brains. So technically, someone can't be neurodiverse on themselves. Diversity requires more than one person. That's how that term works. But young people that we work with have said that calling themselves neurodiverse is really important to them. They identify with that label more than they do neurodivergent. And so as long as people keep telling us that, we will keep using it as an alternative, whilst recognising that actually probably the most accurate term is neurodivergent. And there's a nice quote there from Judy Singer, who invented the term neurodiversity, about that she saw it as kind of a trailblazing civil rights movement for people who'd been just always labelled as a bit odd and hadn't fitted in. Okay, just some stats there, and I can link the article that this came from. We know that roughly 15 to 20% of the population are neurodiverse, so we're aware that whether they are people that are diagnosed or not, we want to be making everything we do accessible for people. And I'd just like to talk a little bit and just invite you to reflect a little bit about the term SEND. So we know that SEND is a term that is used a lot in education legislation. It's used a lot in schools. I don't think it's a term that's going anywhere anytime soon. But the reason that we as an organisation are trying to move away from it where we can is that young people have told us that they have quite a negative experience, a negative reaction to the term SEND. They often feel that it's something that's placed on them quite young and kind of follows them around their lives. Sometimes that comes with an experience of that it's limited people's expectations of them. So we have tried to move towards saying young people who experience a label of SEND, so recognising that it is a term, it is a label that's used, but that it isn't really an identity that young people often then identify into. We find young people are more comfortable with identifying as disabled, as neurodivergent, as neurodiverse than they are this term SEND, which feels like it applies to just school. So just a reflection point there. I think it's a very prevalent term in the landscape. I don't think it's going anywhere, but it's nice to think about how it might impact young people when we use it a lot. And then I hope you can sort of see this. So these quotes that I'm sharing now, we did a consultation this year with some neurodivergent young people nationwide. Quite a few were in Manchester. I ran a few focus groups in Manchester, and we had one in London and then an online nationwide focus group. And we were asking young neurodivergent people about their experiences of sexual health and health services in general. And it's just nice that if we're teaching PSHE, if we're teaching RSE, hopefully the goal is that they can access services in health and well-being, and just to have in our minds some of the things that they experienced. And I think some of these tips speak really nicely to the things that we can do in schools as well to help their experience. We heard quite a lot of young people who said that they might not appear to be neurodivergent, they might not display the body language that they're truly feeling. So we had one young person who said, I really try and not really display anything with my body language. So if I'm really worried or I'm really upset, you probably won't know that because I'm deliberately trying to not show you. We had quite a lot of mixed feelings about sensory things. So some people said, I really like background noise because it stops that silence being overwhelming. With lots of other people say, I really hate background noise. That really makes me anxious and stressed, and I prefer to be in a quiet place. We had quite a lot about the effects of masking on mental health. So I think just to be aware that in lessons, even those young people who you think aren't masking, so trying to hide the symptoms or the traits of their neurodivergence, they possibly are, just to fit in, and that can have quite a long-reaching effect on mental health. It can be quite tiring. It can sort of affect their general mood and well-being as well. And we had a few people say that my defense mechanism is that I smile or a joke, so people think I'm fine and I'm relaxed, and I'm actually not. I'm really trying to put myself at ease, but I'm not in any way at ease. And that the full report from that is downloadable on our website if you want to access it. If you go to participation, you can read the full thing. It's very sexual health based, obviously, but might be an interesting read for some of you. And then I put these into some top tips for across different levels of education and things that you can bear in mind for neurodivergence, things that young people really wanted us to know. And that was the idea that they just really want different ways to engage with their environment. So they might want more sensory input, they might want less sensory input, and maybe responding to young people if they're constantly trying to fiddle with things that are on the desk, or if they're trying to back off from the environment, maybe cater the environment to them as much as we can. And it can include being really flexible on the method. So for some young people, working in a group really adds so much to the mental pressure of that activity that it might be better to let them work on their own. For others, actually working with someone else takes the pressure off. So it might be nice to be able to offer a lot of flexibility and maybe not make that sort of a big deal, or like a very specific, oh, you need to work in a pair. Just offer people the choice, and to recognise that about themselves, especially in secondary, as young people are getting a bit older, and recognising how they work. We had quite a lot about shutdown and meltdown, particularly from autistic young people, and saying that actually I need someone who, when I really can't talk, when I'm so overwhelmed that everything just shuts down, I just need someone to be there with me and be really calm and not keep asking me questions. I just need someone to sit with me in that silence until I kind of come back round. And equally meltdown, they kind of wanted the same thing. They didn't want someone to rush to fix it. They wanted someone to welcome them with that calmness and kind of bring the calmness to them, and just to recognize that it's a physiological symptom. It's something that they can't choose. It's not a behavior. It does manifest as a behavior, but it is something that's going on from their physiology, and they would change it if they could, but what they need in the moment is just real warmth and real stability. I think they want to know that like neurodivergence is a community term. It's really important to a lot of our young people that they're neurodivergent, and that's not a diagnostic term. They might not have been through diagnosis. Some of the young people were really quite anti-diagnosis, so they wanted that kind of just to recognise that it is an identity. And maybe if you're using scenarios in PSHE, RSC, if you're looking at friendship or just generally how someone reacts to something, maybe consider how someone being neurodivergent might impact that scenario. So, for example, if you're looking at friendship and someone maybe isn't responding to conversation in the same way as others and isn't answering things that aren't direct questions, you might look at that as one kind of behaviour, but also it might be that actually that's not the kind of communication that person responds to. So just worth opening that conversation there a little bit, and giving room for different experiences and for young people to talk about their different experiences. That's everything. I will stop sharing, and I will pop my email in the chat as well. So do feel free to get in touch if you would like to.
Thanks so much, Helen. I really appreciate you going through that. I think it's really useful to hear about the experiences that you guys have gathered, and to just be flagged that kind of the research that's there. And also just really interesting to think about like the terms young people are using and how we can build on that. Just for secondary colleagues that are here, it's worth just saying that Brooke is obviously the sexual health service within Manchester for young people. So part of the same organisation that Helen is with, and if you want any further information about that, you can click that link there. Available for anyone in Manchester who is under the age of 19 for the broad spectrum of sexual health services, as you'd expect. Feel free to ask for more info about that. It's also all on the website. On their website, I should say. Great, good stuff. stuff. Okay, we are entering into our final moment, folks. So obviously we've still got half an hour on the books, but I'm sure if you're anything like me, we might be flagging slightly. I hope everyone's all right out there. As promised, this is the part where we're going to be moving into a bit more of like an interactive session. So what we're going to be doing is having a focus on PSHE assessment, because it's a big part of everyone's role. It's something that people are often asking me about, and I always have to sort of reflect back that the practitioners in schools at the moment are always most up to date with the best assessment techniques. There's such a range. So this is the part where we're gonna, as I said, we're gonna get interactive. So if at all possible, if you're able to, it'd be really great to, yeah, thank you so much, Helen, just to say there that if anyone's interested in getting in touch, they Brooke run lots of participation opportunities. So if you've got young people who are really passionate about RSA and they want to get in touch, then they absolutely should do so. If you're able to pop your video on for this section, that would be great. You don't have to. Shout out to Akeem for having video on. Thanks, Akeem. What we're going to do is we're going to have a good bit of a go at doing our very own Padlets. I keep chatting on about Padlets, and they are actually a really useful tool for you guys to share practice within your school setting. Obviously, it's just a tool. You don't have to. But if I pop that there, I think in order to access it, what you'll need to do is to make your own Padlet account, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what questions you might have around PSHE assessment and how does PSHE assessment work within your setting. You might have the most slick, amazing, incredible. Thanks so much, Helen. We really appreciate you coming. You might have the most slick, incredible system in terms of assessment, which is fantastic. Feel free to brag. We're a brag safe space. You might have a system that you've inherited that you think needs a bit of an update. One way or another, we'd love to hear about it. Two ways that we can do that. Firstly, we can just turn our mics on and have a chat. And very briefly, in a moment, I'm going to stop recording so we can all just talk freely. We can also have a play around with this Padlet tool to see if everyone can get a chance of how to use that. So thanks to everyone who's been listening. You'll get sent all of the information, all these things. If you're watching very close up to the point where we're doing this, if you're watching this in November is what I'm trying to say, then have a look for upcoming training as is on the slide here. And if you've watched this, please do fill out a feedback form so that we know how it is gone. Okay, now I'm going to just stop recording.